talking about the fundamentals of replacing your POTS lines. So it should be a good show. We've got Kristen Messman with us, Key Account Manager here at RCN. How you doing, Kristen?
Doing well. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm Mark Indelicato, the Marketing Manager here at RCN as well. So we're excited to go through this with you guys today. Instead, let's take a look at the state of POTS. So Kristen, what are POTS lines?
So POTS lines are those traditional, plain old telephone lines that are out there built on a copper network. Very aged at this point, very old technology, and needing to be replaced. But the different icons up there on the screen are the variety of things that POTS lines have traditionally been used for, or at least some of those things. So the typical, there are still people who use them for voice lines, who can easily transition onto some sort of VoIP type product or something cloud-based, fax lines, elevator phones, various alarm systems, both burglar and fire, emergency call boxes, so the blue lights on different campuses, different gate access panels, panic buttons, some credit card processing or ATMs will use them. It's used a lot in energy or HVAC type systems, and then different SCADA applications.
Yeah, and most businesses I know are using them. I mean, what's an average? It's going to vary, I know, depending on the industry. But what's an average? Each building might have so many POTS lines, right?
Yeah, and it really does depend on the different application. A lot of smaller businesses that are more in, I'm going to say like a branch type location. They may have 3 or 4. Depends if they have elevators in the building, and obviously goes up from there. Certain industries like healthcare, they have a whole lot more than that are still sitting out there and needing to be replaced. Sometimes, we've had conversations and worked with some hospital systems where, it's a couple hundred per building is what they have still.
Yeah, well, that's crazy. So if you're not sure if you have them or not, you probably do in some capacity. So let's take a look at the FCC's ruling here. So this is the official verbiage. We pulled it off of there. I'm not going to go too in depth here. The slides are available after the show if you guys want them, so you can just go on our website and download them. But basically, just wanted to point out that the way that it's phrased is very wonky. But essentially, this document came out. It said August 2nd, 2019 was the date that they had on it. And then they said that there's a 3-year grandfathering period. So that brings us to August 2nd, 2022, before they're not allowing any new POTS lines to be issued, essentially. So this has given the LECs some time to come up with strategies, figuring out how they're going to move their customers over. But since we're past that grandfathering period now, you're going to see a lot more of that going forward. But yeah, so I've got some of the highlights here from some of the LECs. So Verizon, they've still got about 12 million locations that are being served with copper. AT&T's got about 60 million. Lumen's got 28 million. And I've kind of got, some of their strategy on there as well. But Kristen, what are you seeing as far as some of your customers? Are you seeing, specifically Verizon starting to switch, AT&T, how's the breakdown and what's it look like out in the field?
There's definitely some variation regionally here. I know that I've got a good number of people on the East Coast, kind of mid-Atlantic area, who have received notice from Verizon, who's their elect, to indicate that you have until this date, or we're and you need to move off of services. We had a few people actually this week from the Maryland area reach out to us and say, hey, I got notice about this and I need to make this transition. Other areas of the country, Michigan, for example, I've had a number of CLECs there that have sent out notices. I've had some where they've gotten 45-day notice, and then it was that they really just cut them off at that point. We're also seeing where a lot of AT&T customers will call in because they have gone end of contract, and their per month price has changed dramatically. And I think it's potentially just the attempts to get them to make the move forward and begin to transition off of that, be it to a product that AT&T offers, or that someone like RCN offers. That there are different options out there, but just encouraging them, because they're not going to support it. And I have had customers where they've called in now past in the last month, where they've had problems with their POTS line not working someone stuck in an elevator type of situation, and no one's going to come out and fix it, is what they've now learned, which is what the situation with that August 2nd date is about, just that end of support to it, and that they don't have to come fix those lines when something goes wrong with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of brings me to the next point here, and some of the challenges, right? So, or sorry, it's a point past, but we'll get to it in a second. Pricing. So we actually ran this, I want to say last year, maybe late last year. Average price per line per month was $50 to $100, as you can see. Kristen, I mean, has that changed?
I think that there are definitely those average lines that are in $80 to $100 that people are seeing. We are having conversations with people where, when you do an audit of their bills, some of their lines are $300-$400. I've seen as high as $650 in Florida recently for a line. So it just depends on, again, who the carrier is, what the situation was with the line originally. There's a lot of factors, but it's not something where the cost is going to go down at all in this situation. So it just keeps moving in that upward trend.
Right, for sure. And I guess with a lot of this, I mean, that's $650 per line per month, right?
Yes.
And so you were talking earlier about some of these having just dozens of lines per location. So I can see that adding up pretty quickly.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And one of the other things that, when we talk about challenges, so, there are a lot of times where, people have been paying for lines, but they don't have any idea if they're actually working. And a lot of times they don't necessarily know what the intended use was for them, because they've been on the service for so long. That it's different people have moved in and out of those positions, and they're paying for things that they may or may not need, or they could, quite frankly, not even be connected at all.
Yeah, and a lot of the different industries will have different people utilizing the lines, or I guess managing, maintaining, but a different group altogether is billing for it. So there's not that, maybe there's a little bit of a disconnect as to, whether we're using this or not. Yeah, absolutely. Here's where I was trying to circle to a minute ago: lack of support. Yeah, so I mean, as you were saying, you could have an emergency, right? So maybe that elevator line goes out, someone's trapped in an elevator. Obviously, you would find out hopefully pretty quickly, and be able to get them out. But as far as getting that fixed and getting that repaired, you might be just completely out of luck, right?
Yeah, it's something where, it's the current providers are not required to come out and do that any longer. It doesn't mean that they won't, but they're not required to. And so it really comes down to the individual carrier and what they're choosing to do on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So next challenge here. So infrastructure. So talking about maybe moving over to a solution. Obviously, we pointed out a lot of good reasons why you would want to switch. Depending on the solution you go with, can your infrastructure have an impact on how that works, I guess?
Yeah. So, I mean, our solution, which I know we're going to go into in just a second, it goes off of the existing infrastructure. So, it's going to go to the 66 block where the POTS lines are currently terminating, and kind of hijack them from there. But there's a lot of things to consider in buildings, and there's definitely a variation in the different solutions that are out there on the market right now. Most of them are LTE based, which is what ours is. It's but we've designed ours so that we can, if the signal's not the greatest in that area of the building, we can accommodate that with different antenna options, and be able to make sure that that is there. Whereas I know some of the other solutions, that's not an option for.
Right. Absolutely. So you brought it up already, but let's talk solution. So yeah, POTS-Link. We brought up a lot of problems earlier. How's POTS-Link solved these problems?
So POTS-Link is a cellular-based or LTE-based solution that RCN designed, our engineering team designed. It runs off of and is powered by Cradlepoint, so the industry-leading router solution out there. It has a cloud management platform that our team is who manages and supports that device on. So it's a completely managed solution. We're watching your uptime. We're responding to any sort of, incidents or, standard SLA on that. But it gives you a level of visibility that you don't have now. Right now, you have no idea if those lines are working at all. You have that with this solution. The ROI is it's pretty noticeable. Once we've identified what you need to be able to do at each location, when we look at the cost per line now and what people are beginning to see is, again, as they go out of contract, we can do up to 8 lines in a single box, the black box there. And so if we need to do more than that per building, it's just a matter of, placing them where they need to be, depending on where lines terminate. And like I said, it's, we use the standard paddle antennas that you see there in that picture. But if we need to, we can run a different antenna off of it. We can take the antenna outside the building. We can take it to a different part of the building if there's just better signal there that will work. So there's lots of ways to do that. And I think one of the benefits of working with a company like RCN, where everything that we do revolves around, SIM cards and routers, it is we can engineer it to be the right fit for each customer location.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a SIM card is going to be a whole lot cheaper than $650 a month. So, there's definitely a lot of room for savings there. It's going to vary, based on the situation it's implemented in, but I think we almost always see pretty substantial savings with it.
Yeah, sometimes customers have some certain entities or government type customers manage to get some really incredible deals on their lines just because of the way that they have to buy them. But for the most part, I think on average, our customers see somewhere between 30 and 50% savings. So that's pretty substantial. That's there.
Yeah.
And there is a slight difference in price related to whether it's a fire alarm or not, just because the fire alarm component, it's a little bit different in terms of what goes in that box, and there's additional monitoring that goes with that. But in all, in the end, it's still a definite savings, and you get that return on investment pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, I think it's a better option to have that separate pricing for the fire alarms, because if it was built into everything, the price would just be higher across the board, right? So if you don't have a fire alarm, you're not going to get charged for that extra bit of technology.
Right. And a lot of people don't necessarily need the fire alarm, because a lot of times the whoever it is that has their fire alarm has a solution that they have to implement just as part of it, or they've done the update for that. So it's already been updated. If it's an older fire alarm, that may not be the case, and that's where we may be able to be a good fit for it. But for all of those other types of alarms, faxes, elevators, SCADA, any of those types of applications, your HVAC systems, or people use them for out-of-band management sometimes. That's where that 30 to 50% on average comes in.
Yeah, and you had highlighted the cloud platform before, but I just kind of want to paint a little bit of a picture. So in the example we used before, you could have someone stuck in an elevator and the call button's not working. Let's say that call button had gone out 2 weeks prior at 10:30 at night, right? You get a notification as soon as that goes out. So you're never going to be in that situation where, the person is stuck and discover that the button doesn't work and they're having to call and freak out. You can, as soon as it's down, you get it fixed as quickly as you can, and you're up and running and no issues.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that it works is that we just set alerts within that device, and if there's some sort of loss of connectivity, so if something happens on the tower, let's say, and it causes them to go down for a short period of time, we're going to get that alert. If you want the alert, you can have the alert as well, but know that our team is responding to it, checking into it, seeing what needs to be done to get you back up and running. You do also have the option, if you wanted, to stick 2 different carriers in there. It's something where, it's very rare that, we have cellular outages. We do hear about them, because when we have them, it impacts everyone, right? We all rely on our cell phones so much now that when there's an outage, everyone gets very upset about it. When the wireline carriers have an outage, we have a level of upsetness, but we also have just come to expect that that's going to happen. And we've accepted, okay, I have an outage again, type of thing. Mark and I were just talking about this earlier with some issues we've had at our office. And you can have things like failover in place for that, where it does the same thing, right? It just picks up and runs you on cellular for that period of time. But if you wanted to stick a second carrier in there for a level of redundancy, that if for some reason tower A went down and it was not going to come back up, and you wanted us to have SIM slot 2 kick on, those are things that we can do as well. just for that extra level of redundancy or kind of that safety net.
Right. So we can help. Why RCN, Kristen? Why would they want to work with us?
Sure. So we are an LTE and 5G connectivity company, and we are one of the leading sales, engineering, and project management companies in this regard in the country. And we work with teams we work with our customers to develop turnkey, efficient solutions that increase connectivity and uptime, increase your security, and ease the management. Our goal is to create the best solution for you and really just kind of make things easier for you, again, from that management perspective where, if we can take any of that heavy lifting off of you, we will.
Q&A. So I haven't seen anything come through just yet. I had written some things down that I thought might make good questions, but obviously if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them there. But yeah, number one, will POTS-Link work on fire alarm panels? So we touched on this before, but I guess how's that process work?
So what I think is important for us to know, is one, what your need is, but two, we just try to find out a little bit of information about the current, what type of panel it is. There's a very long list that we know we work with and we can integrate with. And, for some reason we're not able to do that, then we'll obviously kind of help point you in the right direction to someone who may be able to do that. But I don't think that we've run into any that we haven't been able to do with just a little bit of some configuration work. And again, that's part of the nice thing about working with us is that we are able to, kind of dive into things a little bit more with customers because we do have our team of experts who are available to configure things to their needs, again, to make sure that everything goes off seamlessly.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't put it any better myself. Okay, so next question. So let's say someone's 66 block is in the basement. Maybe it's somewhere with really thick concrete walls. We're going to put our POTS-Link in place. What's connectivity look like from there?
So we can potentially move the box if we need to. We can run that antenna somewhere if that cell signal is not going to be good enough. Or if we needed to, we've even done it where we've ended up kind of breaking the box apart and moving the device from inside the box to closer to the outside. However, I will say that Cradlepoint does an incredible job of just picking up signal. It's going to work far better than what you're going to experience on, a cell phone or a tablet. So if you're using that as a guide, it doesn't necessarily mean that we won't be able to get that signal down there. So as long as there's any sort of signal, and you're getting a bar or two on your phone, we should be good to go with this and have it be able to connect without needing to do anything further. But if we do need to do something, we have the ability to.
Absolutely. We had a question pop in from Brian. Do you work with any agents?
Yes, we do actually. And so RCN could potentially work with you as an agent, but also RTech, which is a sister company to RCN and is the owner and distributor for RTech. They have agent programs. And so if you want more information on that, we can get you the contact for that. And then, Scott over at RTech would be who you would talk to about the agent options.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian, I'll make a note to get you in touch with them. Let's see, last question we had on here. Does POTS-Link work with existing equipment? So we talked about plugging into, the existing lines, but are your phones, your elevators, your, fire alarm panels, is there any need to change those, or are they going to work just fine?
Part of the beauty of POTS-Link is that you don't have to change those things. And that's part of where the cost savings is going to come in too. It's not as though you have to replace the elevator phone system. I use the word hijacking. We're hijacking that connection that's coming in now on copper, and we're just putting it over LTE and just changing that connection source for it. So everything from the 66 block out into your building is going to stay the same. It's we're changing kind of what's powering it essentially from a connectivity source.
With that being said, thank you guys. We've reached the end here. Kristen, do you have any last words you'd like to share with our audience before we head out?
No, I just think certainly if you've got questions or you need additional information, certainly just reach out to us. Mark, did you have an email up there that they can reach out to? Is it just the info at RCN Technologies?
Yeah, Info at RCN.
Yeah,
Yep.
that would be a way to go about that. It'll get routed to whoever the most appropriate contact is for you. And we'll certainly be in contact with you that way, or you can always call the office. I'm more than happy to answer any questions if anyone wanted to call and ask for me. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Kristen. Thank you all for hopping in here. Brian gave us a thanks, so appreciate that. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and we'll be reaching out to you, Brian. So thank you guys so much.
That's good. Thank you.